Ma'am, this line is for account holders only.
I have an account here.
This is the private banking entrance.
I know where I am.
I looked up from my phone. The security guard was staring at me with that expression I'd seen 1,000 times before. The tight smile, the slightly raised eyebrows, the tone that sounds polite but isn't. I have an account here. This is the private banking entrance. The regular branch is around the corner. I know where I am. He didn't move. Neither did I. It was a Tuesday morning in April. I'd just come from the gym, leggings, sneakers, an old college sweatshirt that had seen better days. My hair was pulled back, no makeup, no jewelry except my wedding ring. I looked like someone who had just come from the gym. Because I had. And apparently, that was enough to disqualify me from entering a bank I'd been coming to for 15 years. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to. Ask me to what? He hesitated. Is there a problem here? A woman appeared behind him, branch manager from the look of her, pencil skirt, perfect hair, that specific brand of corporate smile that says I'm in charge without saying anything at all. This woman is trying to access the private banking area, the security guard said. I see. The manager looked me over, slowly. The same calculation I'd seen at restaurants, hotels, stores, the quick assessment of clothing, shoes, bag. I was carrying a canvas tote. Strike one. Do you have an appointment? She asked. I don't need an appointment. I need to speak with someone about my accounts. Our private banking clients typically schedule meetings in advance. If you'd like, I can direct you to the main branch, and they can help you open a basic account. I don't need to open a basic account. Ma'am, I understand, but this area is reserved for our premium clients. Perhaps if you come back another time, dressed more, appropriately, we can. Appropriately. I let that word hang in the air. She realized her mistake. I saw it flicker across her face. But she didn't apologize. She just adjusted. What I mean is, our private banking clients typically present themselves in a way that... In a way that what? She was getting frustrated now. The smile was slipping. I'm trying to help you. If you don't have an account here, I can't let you into this area. It's policy. I have an account here. I have several accounts here. I've had them for 15 years. Then, you should have no problem providing identification. She said it like a challenge. Like she was certain I wouldn't be able to. Like she'd caught me in a lie. I reached into my canvas tote, pulled out my wallet, handed her my ID. She looked at it, looked at me, looked at it again. Evelyn Monroe. That's what it says. Her face changed. Not recognition, not yet. Just confusion. The name meant something. She knew it meant something, but she couldn't place it. One moment, she said. She walked to the front desk, spoke quietly to the woman behind the computer, pointed at my ID. I watched the receptionist type something, pause, type again. And then I watched her face go white. She whispered something to the manager. The manager's head snapped toward me. And suddenly, everything changed. Mrs. Monroe, I am so sorry. I didn't realize. Please come with me. Can I get you anything? Water, coffee. We have a private waiting area. I don't need a private waiting area. I need to speak with someone about my accounts, which is what I said when I walked in. Of course, of course. Let me personally escort you to our senior director. He'll want to see you immediately. She was practically bowing. The security guard had disappeared entirely. And I was the same person I'd been 60 seconds ago. Let me tell you who I am. My name is Evelyn Monroe. 30 years ago, I started a company in my garage with $2,000 I'd saved from waiting tables. Today, that company is worth $1.2 billion. I own 68% of the shares. And I keep about $47 million in various accounts at this bank. But none of that was visible when I walked through that door. All they saw was a black woman in gym clothes. And they decided, in that instant, that I didn't belong. The senior director was a man named Richard. He met me at his office door with a handshake so aggressive I thought he might dislocate my shoulder. "Mrs. Monroe, it's an honor. I can't believe we haven't met before. I've handled your accounts for years, but always through intermediaries. Is there a reason I was stopped at the door?" He blinked. "I'm sorry. Your security guard tried to redirect me to the regular branch. Your manager suggested I wasn't dressed appropriately. I'd like to understand why." There must have been a misunderstanding. I assure you, our staff is trained to treat every client with. I wasn't treated like a client. I was treated like a problem. He didn't have an answer. They never do. Here's what people don't understand about wealth. They think it protects you. They think once you have enough money, enough success, enough proof that you've made it, people stop questioning whether you belong. But that's not how it works. Because the questioning isn't about what you have. It's about what you look like. I didn't come from money. My mother cleaned offices. My father drove a bus. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in Detroit. 4 kids, 1 bathroom. The kind of childhood where you learn to stretch everything: food, clothes, patience. I was the first in my family to go to college. Worked 3 jobs to pay for it. Graduated with $80,000 in debt and a degree in chemical engineering. I started my company because no one would hire me. I had the grades, the skills, the resume. But I also had a name that sounded ethnic and a face that didn't match what they expected when I walked into interviews. After the 37th rejection, I stopped counting. And I started building. The product was a specialized polymer coating. Industrial applications, manufacturing, the kind of thing nobody thinks about but everybody uses. For the first 5 years, I worked out of my garage. 18-hour days, no salary, no safety net. My husband, James, took extra shifts to keep us afloat. We ate rice and beans more nights than I can count. There were moments, many moments, when I wanted to quit. When the doubt was louder than the dream. When I couldn't see how any of this was going to work. But I kept going. Because I didn't have another option. Because failure meant going back to a world that had already told me I wasn't good enough. And I refused to prove them right. The company took off in year 7. A contract with a major automotive manufacturer. Then aerospace. Then defense. By year 15, we were the industry standard. By year 20, I was on magazine covers. By year 25, I was a billionaire. But I still get stopped at doors. I still get asked if I'm in the right place. I still get looks that say, "How did you get in here?" The meeting with Richard lasted an hour. He apologized 17 times. Offered me premium services I already had. Promised additional training for the staff. By the end, I was exhausted. Not because of the meeting. Because of what it took to get there. I thought about leaving. Moving my accounts to another bank. There are plenty of institutions that would be thrilled to manage $47 million. But here's what I've learned. It doesn't matter where you go. The faces change, the addresses change. The assumptions don't. When I got home that night, James was in the kitchen. He'd made dinner. The good kind, the kind that takes hours, the kind he makes when he knows I've had a day. "How bad?" he asked. Scale of 1 to 10. Always. 7, maybe 8. He pulled me into a hug. Didn't ask for details. He'd heard enough versions of this story over 32 years of marriage. James is white. I know what you're thinking. You're wondering if that makes things easier. Sometimes it does. Sometimes people treat me differently when he's around. More respectful, more accommodating. Like his presence validates mine. But that tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it? That my husband, by simply existing beside me, grants me access to dignity I should already have. That his whiteness is a key that opens doors my accomplishments cannot. I don't blame James for that. It's not his fault. But I carry the weight of it. Every time I see the difference. Every time I watch people's attitudes shift when he appears. Every time I'm reminded that who I am alone is somehow less than who I am with him. The security guard's name was Dennis. I found that out later. He'd been working at the bank for 3 years. Had a wife, 2 kids, a mortgage he was struggling to pay. A week after the incident, he was let go. I didn't ask for that. Richard probably thought I wanted it. Thought offering me his termination was some kind of gift. But firing Dennis didn't fix anything. It just gave the bank a way to pretend the problem was one person. One bad apple. One isolated incident. But Dennis wasn't the problem. Dennis was a symptom. The problem is a system that teaches people to sort other people at a glance. That trains us to calculate worth based on clothing, cars, skin color. That tells security guards and bank managers and restaurant hosts and store clerks that some people belong and others don't. Dennis didn't invent that system. He just operated within it. And now he's unemployed, while the system continues unchanged. I thought about reaching out to him, explaining that I didn't want him fired, maybe even helping him find another job. But what would I say? Sorry the bank used you as a scapegoat to avoid examining its own culture. Sorry you lost your income because you did exactly what you were implicitly trained to do. There's no good answer. Just the weight of knowing that my moment of vindication became someone else's tragedy. A month after the incident, I was invited to speak at a conference. Women in business, leadership, success. They wanted the inspiring story. The bootstrap narrative. The if I can do it, anyone can message that audiences love and corporations sponsor. I almost said no. Because I'm tired of telling that story. Tired of performing success for rooms full of people who want to feel good without changing anything. But I said yes. Because of who might be listening. Because somewhere in that audience, there might be a woman who looks like me. Who's been rejected 37 times. Who's working out of her garage on 4 hours of sleep and failing hope. Who needs to know it's possible. Not easy, never easy. But possible. The speech went well. Standing ovation. People lined up afterward to shake my hand, take photos, tell me how inspiring I was. And then a young woman approached. Black, maybe 25, wearing a suit that was slightly too big, the kind you buy when you can't afford tailoring but need to look professional. She didn't ask for a photo. She just looked at me with eyes that were holding back tears. Does it ever stop? She asked. I knew exactly what she meant. No, I said, it doesn't. Her face fell. But, I added, you get stronger. You learn which battles to fight. You build a life so full that the small people can't empty it. She nodded. Wiped her eyes. I'm starting a company, she said. Everyone says I'm crazy. They said the same thing to me. How do you keep going when they keep telling you no? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Because every no is just someone telling you who they are. It's not a verdict on who you are. Their lack of vision doesn't limit your potential. It just means they won't be part of your success. She hugged me. Right there, in front of everyone. And I let her. Because I remembered being her. Desperate for someone to tell me it was possible. Desperate for proof that the struggle had a purpose. Her name was Jasmine. We exchanged numbers. I've been mentoring her ever since. Her company launched last year. Industrial cleaning solutions, eco-friendly, already profitable. Every time I see her win, I feel something in my chest loosen. Like I'm not just carrying my own story anymore. Like it's bigger than me. That's the part they don't tell you about success. The real reward isn't the money. It's the door you can hold open for someone behind you. I went back to that bank 6 months later. Same entrance. Same private banking area. Different security guard. And this time, The branch manager was waiting for me at the door. Smiling, deferential, eager. "Mrs. Monroe, so good to see you. Can I escort you personally to your meeting?" I looked at her. Remembered the way she'd looked at me before. The suggestion that I wasn't dressed appropriately. The assumption that I didn't belong. "I can find my way," I said. And I walked past her. Not out of pettiness. Out of exhaustion. Because I knew the performance she was putting on wasn't real. It was the version of respect that comes after revelation. After someone realizes you have power. After they calculate what you're worth. But I didn't want that kind of respect. I wanted the kind that comes before. The kind you give to someone simply because they're human. The kind that doesn't require a bank balance to trigger. And that kind is rare. So rare that I can count on one hand the people in my life who gave it to me before they knew my name. James, obviously. He fell in love with me when I was a broke engineering student eating ramen for dinner. He never cared about the money. Sometimes I think that's why we work. Because I know he'd still be here if it all disappeared. My best friend Lorraine. We met in college. She was pre-law. I was engineering. We bonded over late-night study sessions and a shared hatred of our economics professor. 35 years later, she's the only person who can make me laugh when I want to scream. And my mother, who told me, when I was 7 years old, that I was going to change the world. She didn't know how, neither did I. But she believed it. And some days, that belief was the only thing keeping me going. She passed away 10 years ago. Didn't live to see the company hit $1 billion. But she saw enough. She saw me prove everyone wrong. She saw me become someone nobody expected. And the last thing she said to me, holding my hand in that hospital bed, was, I always knew. I think about her when these moments happen. The bank, the restaurants, the stores. I think about what she'd say. And I hear her voice in my head. Don't let them make you small, Evelyn. You were never small. So I don't. I walk into rooms where people don't expect me. I sit at tables where nobody invited me. I stand my ground when they try to move me. Because my mother didn't raise me to shrink. And I'm not going to start now. Here's what I want you to understand. This story isn't about a bank. It's not even about me. It's about every person who has walked into a room and been judged before they could speak. Every person who has been dismissed, overlooked, redirected, questioned. Every person who has had to prove their right to exist in spaces they already paid for. It's about the weight of that. The accumulation of small cuts that never quite heal. The exhaustion of constantly defending your presence. And it's about a choice. A choice you make every single day not to let them define you. Not to let their small vision shrink your big life. Not to become bitter when you could become better. I don't know what door you're standing in front of. I don't know who's trying to tell you that you don't belong. But I need you to hear this. They're wrong. They're wrong about you. They're wrong about what you're capable of. They're wrong about where you can go and what you can become. Their inability to see your value is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their limitations. So keep walking. Keep building. Keep taking up space. Because one day, they'll realize who you are. And by then, it won't even matter. Because you'll already know. That manager at the bank. She still works there. Still smiles at me when I come in. Still pretends that first day never happened. But I remember. I remember who she was before she knew my name. And I know that who she was that day is who she really is. The rest is just performance. The question I keep asking myself isn't about her, though. It's about me. It's about all of us. How do we treat people when we think they're nobody? When there's no benefit to being kind? When they have nothing to offer us? That's the real test. Not how we treat the powerful, but how we treat the people we think don't matter. Because everyone matters. And if you can't see that without a revelation, without a name, without a bank balance, then maybe you're the one who's missing something. This is Reality Voice. If this story felt like something you've lived, something you're still living, then you're in the right place. Tell me in the comments, when's the last time someone treated you differently once they found out who you were? And if you're still here, still listening, still refusing to shrink, subscribe. Because these are the stories that don't get told enough. The ones we carry quietly. The ones that shape who we become. How do you treat people when you think no one important is watching?